A Song of Mistakes and Regrets by Jacky of All Trades. Read by Rouge Monty. Rating, not rated. Archive warning, creator chose not to use archive warnings. Category F/M. Fandoms, House of the Dragon TV. A Song of Ice and Fire related fandoms. Relationships, Alicent Hightower / Aegon Targaryen, son of Balon. Characters, Alicent Hightower, Rhaenyra Targaryen, Aemon, One-Eye Targaryen, Aegon II Targaryen, Helaena Targaryen, Daemon Targaryen, Daemon Targaryen, son of Viserys I, Aegon Targaryen, son of Balon. Additional tags: the Greens, Aegon II Targaryen's faction. The Greens, Aegon II Targaryen's faction centric. The Blacks, Rhaenyra Targaryen's faction bashing. Pro Team Green. Rhaenyra Targaryen bashing. Viserys I Targaryen bashing. Bad Parent, Viserys I Targaryen. Viserys I Targaryen being an idiot. Alicent Hightower and Viserys Targaryen I never married. Omega, Alicent Hightower. Omega, Aemon One-Eye Targaryen. Alpha, Aegon II Targaryen. Beta, Helaena Targaryen. Alpha, Daemon Targaryen. Alpha, Viserys I Targaryen. Alpha, Daemon Targaryen. Alpha, Rhaenyra Targaryen. Time travel fix it, but the fix it failed for the Blacks. But it worked for the Greens, unknowingly. Good Parent, Alicent Hightower. Bamf, Alicent Hightower. Alicent Hightower deserves better. Alicent Hightower centric. Summary: where Viserys, Daemon, and Rhaenyra had the chance to travel back in time and decided that the Hightower must be taken out of the way. Or where the Blacks think that by marrying Alicent to someone else, they would avoid the dance, but they only give her the happiness she deserves. Let's get out of this town, baby. We're on fire. Everyone around here seems to be going down, down, down. If you stick with me, I can take you higher and higher. Lucky Ones by Lana Del Rey. The gods seemed to smile on House Targaryen. At least that's what Viserys, Daemon, and Rhaenyra Targaryen thought. Viserys Targaryen, who after his death was able to see the future of his house, being sent back in time was a miracle from the gods. Seeing the death of his brother and his beloved daughter and his grandchildren destroyed him, and left him with immense rage worthy of a dragon. Viserys was determined to avoid war and save his beloved daughter, and he would start by getting rid of the Hightowers out of his life. Daemon Targaryen felt anger consume him when he not only died at the hands of that half-blood, but when he saw where his family went. With his beloved Rhaenyra swallowed and eaten by Sunfire, and with an Aegon so fearful that he wiped out all of dragons, weakening House Targaryen. Now, with a chance to return to the past, he was ready to protect his blood. Rhaenyra Targaryen felt pain and then anger after her death, only to wake up years in the past with the opportunity to fix everything and take out those who ended her life and the lives of her children. Rhaenyra was not going to get to be the good girl. She was going to finish off the Greens, and she would be in charge of emerging victorious in her mission. The three Targaryens had returned to the past, and together they were willing to fight for the Targaryen blood to not end as it did, with everyone dead, wars, crazy Targaryens on the throne, and no dragons. And they would start with what they thought were to blame for everything: the Hightowers. They had to get them out of the way and prevent Alicent from marrying Viserys, Otto from being the Hand, and the 4 half-bloods being born. They had perfectly calculated a plan. They would send Otto Hightower back and marry Alicent to another noble other than Viserys. However, they did not expect that Aegon Targaryen, the younger brother of Viserys and Daemon, in some kind of strange past, had in fact survived, and was now a great prince of the realm. Aegon was as deadly as Daemon, and smarter than Viserys. He was a perfect Targaryen, and he was not the king. It was a rock in the road, but nothing they couldn't handle. However, and without any kind of affection from not having grown up with him, Viserys does what, at that moment, he believed was the best option. He removes Otto Hightower as his hand and sends him to Oldtown, and places Daemon as his hand. With Alicent, he decides to marry the Omega to Aegon, his younger brother and an alpha, but he literally exiles her and sends her to her father after her wedding, and thus Aegon and Alicent Targaryen begin a new life in Oldtown. Alicent Hightower did not understand how everything changed so quickly overnight. She was following her father's instructions. She visited King Viserys and read to him, letting him touch her despite her disgust and fear. She remained the princess's friend and companion. Everything was going well, when suddenly Rhaenyra began to be quite cruel and distant towards her, and the king was no longer calling for her. Her father was frustrated, but she was sad to honestly lose the only true friendship she had. And suddenly, she finds herself betrothed to Prince Aegon Targaryen, and soon married and exiled to Oldtown with a husband she knew nothing about. She felt she was in a whirlwind of emotions, and that she was time-traveling with how quickly things were moving forward. She was nervous and scared, but she hoped her future would be filled not with sadness. Contrary to what was thought, Viserys' decision was the best one made for Alicent. Viserys became betrothed to Laena, let Rhaenyra have her bastards, and then married her to Daemon, but after that, the gods abandoned them. Laena had not gotten pregnant, and was too young to even think about it. Laenor had no plans to marry, and Rhaenyra lost every baby she had, causing more fury in Daemon, who did not have his twins with Laena or his children with Rhaenyra, but she had her bastard with Harwin Strong. Within a few years, the Targaryen family seemed to fall apart, as they heard the news and rumors about the Targaryen-Hightower family. Shortly after their marriage, the family decided not to stay stuck in Oldtown, not when Aegon was a free soul and liked to travel. So they took their things and headed to Essos, where they stayed to live while traveling throughout the continent. That's where the family rumors came from, especially about the 4 children they were carrying. Aegon Targaryen, better known as Aeg, was the firstborn of the family and an alpha. He was known to be similar to his father. He was a free soul who was always seen on his dragon, traveling throughout Essos and beyond. If he wasn't traveling on Sunfire, he would raid the seas to explore the world. Helaena Targaryen was the only female among the children, and a beautiful beta. She was known to be a sweet young woman who often spoke in riddles that her father seemed to understand and listen to very seriously. She was a lover of insects, and her father was in charge of giving her as many as she wanted. Aemon Targaryen is the second son and the jewel of the family as the only Omega. He was known not only for his devastating beauty, but for his lethality with a sword and his protector, his cruel and powerful dragon, Hellfire. He had a long list of suitors, including several nobles from other continents. Daemon Targaryen was the youngest, known for being a bold, overprotective alpha of his family, although everyone knew that Aemon was his favorite. He was training to be a knight, and it was known that Aemon was often his opponent while they practiced. Alicent Hightower was known for being a sweet and beautiful Omega, who took care of her children like a dragon. She may not have dragon blood, but she could be seen on her husband's dragon flying alongside 4 other dragons where her children were flying. Aegon Targaryen was a handsome alpha, known for his free spirit, something he instilled in his children, which is why Aegon was not the heir, and why Aemon was, as well as why he let Aemon learn to use the sword. Without knowing it, the Blacks had given Alicent and her children the best life. Alicent was free from her father's clutches, with a handsome young husband who loved her for being Alicent and not Aemma. She had her children when she was young, yes, but that's how she wanted it, and she was able to give them the love they deserved. Her children were born to a loving mother and a father who considered his family the light of his eyes, a father who paid attention to them and told them that he was proud of them. An unpressured Aegon, a Helaena recognized for being a dreamer, a protected Aemon, and a remembered Darien. Without knowing it, the Greens had saved themselves from the clutches of the Blacks, and the Blacks had destroyed themselves. Perhaps there was salvation if they managed to obtain the hand of a powerful and dangerous Omega, Aemon Targaryen. But things wouldn't be so easy when in the north, a wolf was willing to hook his claws on the Omega. Reader's notes, this is my first, and probably one of the few, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, any George R. R. Martin works that I'll probably podfic, but I just this was such a sweet story that I really was grateful to be able to podfic this. So please give all lots of love to Jacky of all trades and look at their Across the Alicent verse, where things are very different and there's just a lot of fun little one shots in there. Um, Anyways, I hope you all have a good time. Goodbye!